Kevin Can F Himself, Season 1, Episode 2. Supposedly set in Worcester, but pretty much nothing at all was shot in Worcester, not even the filler shots. So let's talk about this episode. First, to recap a bit, this whole season is set in Worcester, but is shot in Brockton, which is a far, far way east and a completely different location in town and feel. They do have triple deckers and a couple things, but it's just not the same. And their house is on Nasson Street in Brockton. It's supposed to be in Worcester. It is not Worcester. Here's some beautiful footage of places in Worcester that they could have included, but they did not. So in this episode 2, the main character dreams about killing off her husband Kevin, and then she's sad when she wakes up and he's still alive. So there's all sorts of talk about, well, how could she kill him off? And her husband's obsessed with getting a Belichick hoodie that he spent tons of money on. And then the hoodie doesn't show up, so then he thinks that the neighbors must have stolen it. And there's a full 7 minutes going on about this kind of activity, which is part of why I haven't so far become fond of this show, because it seems like there's just a lot of what you might call sitcom silliness, but because this isn't actually supposed to be a sitcom, it's even less interesting, and there is even less character growth going on during it, and it just feels like not fun to me to watch. But you get to that point, and now you're wondering what's going to happen with this main character who decides that she's going to try to kill off her husband. So here she's walking past Worcester Books, which I have an issue with, and then she goes to the Worcester Public Library, quote unquote. This place that she's in here is quite small. You can see the back wall here, you can see the front wall there, and in the next shot you'll see the side wall, so it is a really small place. In comparison, the actual Worcester Public Library is huge. This is the short side of it. It is really long as well. It's got 3 floors. It's got beautiful murals on it. It's got a cafe inside, teen rooms, magazine rooms. It's got research areas. It's got card playing areas. It is just big. So she's in this tiny little place, which is not the Worcester Public Library, even remotely, and she's using one of their public computers to try to find the perfect murder. So she types in perfect murder and does a Google search. And if you look at all these search results, which I'll zoom in on a second, they aren't even to actual sites. They're all just to sites that say results / article, blah, 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 or results / perfect murder, blah, blah, blah. So clearly they are not showing the real results. And then she gets blocked for searching for perfect murder and trying to type anything. So this is me in the actual Worcester Public Library. I did do video in here for privacy reasons, but you can see it is big. It is really pretty. This is the kind of place you can go and hang out for a while. They're having a dolls festival for different dolls created by different people. They've all the chessboards set up. So this is a really, really nice library. There's another section of it. I happen to like those dolls that they were having on display. So here I am at their public terminal. Worcester Public Library, save your work. Work's not stared here. So I typed in perfect murder. You can see in the top left corner. I'm getting results. All the results are for movies and stuff. They're not even for committing a murder. I had to go down a bunch of pages before I even started to find things about how to commit a perfect murder. And when I clicked on it, of course, the answer came right back up. So they do not block you from this. The next 2 quick little mentions of Worcester type scenes. This is where she tried to go in and scam Oxy from her doctor at the Worcester West Medical Association. She gets given a card about somewhere else that she can go for support. She throws it away, but then she goes back and picks it up again. She thinks it's a therapist's number. And then in the next scene, she's at work, and you can see the Wormtown Brewery sign in the background. So again, little moments to remind you that you're in the Worcester area. And I appreciate that you include these little moments in here. Alright, so next let's talk about diners. Worcester lunch car diners were built here in Worcester, which is why we have a bunch of them left, even though these things are decades and decades old. On the right there you see the Boulevard Diner. We just passed on the left the Parkway Diner, and we've got all sorts of other diners in the city. This is Shrewsbury Street. This is my own video that we're driving through as background while I talk about this. So in her story, her friend is always wearing a Ralph's Diner shirt, which is really cool. That's a call out I appreciate. Ralph's is a really nice place. And then her friend from high school, Sam, who she's now becoming fond of again, also runs a diner, but his is a very yuppie diner, quite a different kind from the traditional Worcester lunch car diners. And I really wish that they had featured something even that looked like a Worcester lunch car diner, because that is a key part of Worcester's history and what we're all about. And in the middle of the diner references, there's also continuing sagas about the Belichick hoodie being stolen, and that she's trying to get Oxy, and she's giving cookies back to the drug dealer to try to get him to get her to give Oxy, and then she thinks that she's going to get Oxy, but really she's been set up by the drug dealer to uh, someone who thinks that she's a prostitute, so all sorts of other chaos is happening. But here's the scene with the Ralph's Diner. You can see the shirt that she's wearing, the black shirt with the red logo. So I'm really glad that they've got that Ralph's Diner mentioned here. And then in a second, we're going to take a look at the other, well, another diner in Worcester. This is my own footage again. This is the Miss Worcester Diner. On the left is the actual factory where they made these things. And on the right, you can see this diner. They are just really pretty. They are a key part of Worcester history, and they really should have included them in their series. But such is life. So next we're going to see a little snippet of her friend Sam's Diner, which is just a generic restaurant really. So it's, I suppose they call it a diner just for the sake of diners, but they had so much opportunity here to have Worcester lunch car diners in Worcester, the city of Worcester, where they were built. But that's all right. So the two of them talk. She's all upset because she just got treated like a prostitute. All she was trying to do was score some Oxy to kill her husband. And then she just babbles onto him, and he isn't very appreciative of her using him as a punching bag. So now what we're looking at here is a map of where Davis Street is in Worcester. You can see it in the top center there. It's a little short block between Queen Street and Piedmont Street. It's near Main Street, so it's a sort of a rundown lower income area, and it's primarily housing. But in the card that she got from the doctor's assistant that said that she could use it and she thought it was a therapist's card, the salon is on Davis Street. So we're going to see in a few minutes the little shot of her going to the salon with the red card in hand and being confused why there would be a therapist inside a salon, and then she realizes that actually the receptionist gave her a card for an Oxy dealer, and now she can get Oxy from this salon owner who is going to help her out. So here we are at the Davis Street. It's a commercial area, 3545, so clearly a gigantic street. And she goes in to say, is this where I'm going to see a therapist? And she's like, no, this is where you're going to get some Oxy. And then the great reveal happens that it's actually her neighbor Patty, who has never been very friendly with her, who owns this salon, and she was dealing Oxy. So all of her prayers are answered because now she can just get Oxy from Patty and kill off Kevin and live the life of her dreams. Now it's a little bizarre. I mean, it seems like they've been living next to Patty for quite a long time, and she never even discovered where Patty worked at the salon. You would think they would have mentioned at some point, or someone's car is broke down and they need help getting somewhere. So it's a little bit of a suspension of disbelief for me that she never knew ever what salon her friend owned and where it happened to be in Worcester. But all right, let's just take that for the way that things have gone. So to recap, the main thrust of this episode was that Allison wants to kill her husband. She tries to go to a library to figure out ways to kill her husband. While she's there, she happens to see someone drop dead from Oxy. Says, oh, well, therefore, I'm just going to poison my husband with Oxy, which I don't know anything about. Let me find Oxy. Can't get any from my doctor, so the doctor's assistant gave me a card. And oh, look, it's my near neighbor, Patty. So I'll just get some from Patty, kill my husband, and life will be good. But in terms of Worcester stuff, the Worcester links are all fairly nebulous. You get a Ralph's t-shirt, you get a Wormtown sign in her place of work, and that's pretty much about it. And then like a bookstore that claims it's a Worcester bookstore, a library which claims it's the Worcester Library, and a medical facility which claims it's a Worcester medical facility, but none are even closely resembling things that are in Worcester. And there was even a Dunkin' Donuts on Shrewsbury Street. I don't know if you noticed that, but we do have Dunkin' Donuts in Worcester that they could have used even for a drive-by scene or something. So anyway, that's episode 2 of Kevin Can F Himself. Missing out on all sorts of actual Worcester references, but I'm going to plow forward and see how this pans out. There are many shows I've watched that had a sort of rough start in terms of how much I liked it, and that I then became very fond of, so we'll see if this one starts to grow on me. Let me know if you have any comments.